Have you found that after discovering our teachings, your sleep improved, but you keep running into insomnia again? If so, I'm so glad you're here because we're going to talk about one of the most common reasons for having ongoing bouts of insomnia despite discovering these teachings that we call closing the hood. In fact, recently I was in a one-on-one call with a client, and when I shared this, he said, "This is what I've been doing. I've been closing the hood. This is it." And I was thinking, I have to really talk about this on the channel. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we jump into our teaching for today, I have an announcement to share. It is almost February 15th, which is when our new batch starts. If you are interested in becoming a sleep coach, a certified sleep coach, then this is for you. It is a 3-month training program. Total cost is $4,500. And this is great if you are either a counselor, maybe a psychologist, or you're in the helping space already, and you want to know how to help your clients with insomnia. This is perfect for you. It's also perfect for you if you are someone who has left the struggle and you want to help others and you are entrepreneurial. You want to create your own business helping people as a sleep coach. Or C, if you simply really value deep understanding of our way, like Samila, our most recent guest in Talking Insomnia, she really joined because she wanted to really, really understand NATO, understand our way. And now she joined as the coach. And not only her, but really everyone in our ecosystem that you frequently see here has gone through our certification course. And people like Coach Beth or Coach Joseph, who are now independently working as sleep coaches, making a living themselves as sleep coaches, they also went through this exact training. If you think this is interesting, then send an email to Catherine, our new student access specialist, Catherine@thesleepcoachschool.com, and she'll guide you through what to do next. All right. So with that said, let's jump into today's teaching on closing the hood. We are going to divide this into two parts. One is, what does closing the hood mean? What does that even mean? And how do we not do this? So those are the two sections. Now, let's start with explaining this, this concept of closing the hood. And I want to acknowledge that I learned this expression from Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. So that's really where this teaching comes from. But to learn more about this, let's first imagine the following. Imagine that your car has some issue. You hear some weird sounds from the engine. You think you're not really sure, and you decide to look into this. So what do? Well, you pop the hood. You look under the hood. And what do you see there? Well, you see all these components, the wires, the parts, things connected to each other. And maybe you can kind of get a sense of what's going on, but you see that this is complicated. This is way more. You kind of overwhelmed. You're like, I can't deal with this. So what do? You close the hood and you hope for the best. This is what closing the hood means. It means like when you see something that's really, kind of like, I can't even deal with this. You're just like, close the hood. You don't want to look that way. You look another way and you hope for the best, like fingers crossed. And now, what does this have to do with insomnia and our way here? Well, it's actually very, very pertinent because this happens all the time. Somebody finds our content here, starts learning through our YouTube channel, our podcast, maybe the books, and start finding that sleep happens a little easier. There is some understanding, and this understanding, of course, leads to demystification, which leads to less fear, which leads to sleep happening easier and easier. And this person now may decide that, whoa, this is great. Sleeping easier, everything's better. Okay, let's not do anything more. Let's not rock the boat. And this person kind of just closes the hood. They're like, I don't want to do any more exploration, and I'm just going to close the hoodie. I'm going to hope for the best. Fingers crossed. I did this automatically because in Sweden, this is a word we read for fingers crossed. We hold our thumb. So anyway, fingers crossed, holding your thumb. You kind of like hope nothing happens. And this person does this without like fully seeing why there was a struggle with insomnia. And so this is closing the hood. Now, Why do I say this is tricky? And why do I say this is actually one of the most common reasons that you may not kind of completely leave the struggle? Well, here are 3 reasons why closing the hood is tricky. A, you maintain a level of mystery. There's something you haven't fully understood that you don't want to understand, that you're just kind of like trying to, yeah, hold at bay and keep away from you. And so there's something there that remains mysterious. There's something you haven't fully understood why you had insomnia, why things happen the way they happen, right? So you maintain a level of mystery, which is tricky. And B, you probably aren't truly free. And I see this all the time. Someone says like, "Oh, I had a long stretch of time that was where I didn't have any trouble sleeping." But when you actually, start scratching the surface and talking about that period of time, it was more like this truce period where it was like, well, I was still not going out in the evening. I was still not traveling. I was still not doing this, but it was much better than now. So there were actually ongoing efforts at kind of appeasing some fear, appeasing, like keeping some mystery at bay, and so you weren't actually living a free, full life, like you weren't, you still aren't, completely like, in a zone where you've left the struggle, right? So that's a tricky thing with closing the hood. And there's also this continued reinforcement that there is something to be afraid of, because if we weren't afraid of something, then we wouldn't just like close the hood and look the other way, right? So it maintains the idea that there is something to be afraid of that's mysterious, and we continue not to be free. So another way to say this is that fear grows with uncertainty. When it's something where we don't understand, we're more scared of it, right? It grows with efforts at trying to contain it. Sleep efforts, like they maintain this idea, this fear, if you will, and also it thrives with the fear, with the idea that fear is warranted. So again, if we push something away, that indicates that we say to ourselves kind of like there is something to be afraid of, which of course like leads to us being more scared. So this is why insomnia returns when we close the hood. When we try to just close the hood, look the other way, hope for the best, we tend to have trouble sleeping again. All right. So this, I hope, illustrates why closing the hood is very tricky, which then leads us to our second part. How do we not do this? How do we not close the hood? And the thing here is that it is really when we are unaware of this, when we don't understand, not only do we not fully understand insomnia, but we don't fully understand that we just kind of abandoned, a path, that we just like try to look the other way. We don't understand that we close the hood, right? Then it's tricky, because then we're in this space of we're just reacting to things that come our way. We don't understand them. But now that can actually never ever happen to you, because you understand this, this, you've seen this, and it can never be unseen once you've seen it. So now that what closing the hood is, it automatically becomes much less likely that you do this. So that's wonderful. So again, like, just thanks to your learning here, you've done something amazing. And now, with that said, something that we haven't talked about yet is like what is the opposite of closing the hood? What is looking under the hood? Well, looking under the hood really just means education about, in our context here, in education about sleep, about insomnia, but also self-exploration, being willing to look at how we have felt, our emotions, how we reacted, how we've treated ourselves, all these inner experiences, being willing to see them. That's looking under the hood, and willingness to learn about the human mind and how we humans react to things. That is all that is looking under the hood. Now, getting more practical here, I would say if you're new to our channel, then you haven't even you haven't closed the hood yet. You're here, but the practical takeaway here becomes, if you start finding things getting a little bit easier, but you're still not really understanding how and why things are getting this little some mystery, then it is really helpful to just keep learning, keep exposing yourself to our teachings, and keep on this path. And you will find that at some point you become less interested. Like, there's nothing really there that frightens you. There's nothing there that is a mystery. And you're not actually really drawn to like consuming more content, because you already understand everything. And now you may wonder, so shouldn't I close the hood there? Not really, because there's nothing to close the hood on. Closing the hood is really trying to escape something that we don't understand. But when you understand everything, there's nothing to close the hood on. You can imagine that you're kind of living your life with an openness to see whatever's going on inside you, And finally here, if you recognize yourself that you have been doing this, you have been kind of like, maybe watching some YouTube episodes here when things have been tricky, you found some reassurance, you stopped, hope for the best, then you had some trouble sleeping and you came back, then first of all, deploy self-kindness. It's so natural, so human. We all tend to do this, right? And secondly, what we said to the new listener applies to you as well. Like, the willingness to learn again is the opposite of closing the hood, and it really, really helps. And finally here, again, for somebody who's maybe been back and forth here, watching this episode really is looking under the hood. This is really brave, really courageous, and this willingness to learn and the courage again will lead you to where you want to be, which is a place of peaceful sleep and peace of mind. Hope this was really, really helpful. And again, if you find yourself like on the path you want to be, that is wonderful. But if things are tricky, if you feel kind of isolated, people don't understand you, you'd like some more help and guidance on your path to where you want to be, then head over to thesleepcoachschool.com. We have plenty of options for you, including our free mini course, Ready to Sleep in 5 days. Now, that will conclude it for today. Thanks for being here, and look forward to having you real soon. Bye for now.